Radio Algeria International, our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
In today's top story, Somalia's Interior Minister Ali Yusuf Hosh praises Algeria's pioneering role in supporting just causes, considering it a strategic partner of this country and a defender of its sovereignty and stability. Donald Trump and Xi Jinping have met in China in a historic and key moment amid growing international tensions. The United Nations and the African Union signed a new declaration in Addis Ababa aimed at strengthening cooperation in the areas of peace, sustainable development and human rights. On the 78th anniversary of the Nakba of the Palestinian people, the Arab League emphasized the need to end the historical injustice suffered by the Palestinian people. Hello and welcome to Radio Algeria International. I'm Jamal Slimani. The President of the Republic, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, has received the Somali Minister of Interior and Federal Affairs, Mr. Ali Yusuf Hosh, who conveyed him a meeting or a message from the President of the Somalia. In a press statement following the meeting granted to him by President Abdelmajid Tebboune, Mr. Hosh indicated that he had delivered to the President of the Republic a letter from his Somali counterpart, Mr. Hassan Sheikh Mohammed, in which he expressed to him his profound gratitude and high consideration for the role played by Algeria in supporting just African and Arab causes. The Somali minister expressed appreciation, praising Algeria's long-standing support for Somalia and the advanced level of cooperation between the two countries, highlighting the positive results of agreements and scholarships for Somali students.
لقد كانت الجزائر دائما صوتا دائما للصومال.
Algeria has always been a voice supporting Somalia in regional and international fora, and its sincere brotherly stance will remain a source of appreciation and pride for our people. Relations between our two countries are today witnessing an advanced stage of cooperation and rapprochement, and we are pleased to see the positive results of the agreements and memoranda of understanding signed between the two sides in various fields, reflecting the shared will to strengthen bilateral partnership and serve the interest of our peoples. We particularly value Algeria's initiative in granting scholarships to Somali students, given that it represents a genuine contribution to human development, skills enhancement, and the strengthening of cultural and scientific ties between the two countries.
He described Algeria as a reliable partner, stressing Somalia's commitment to strengthening ties and expressing gratitude for the warm welcome and continued cooperation.
Somalia considers Algeria a reliable partner, a brotherly country with which it maintains strong relations based on mutual respect and sincere cooperation. We are keen to continue joint work to further strengthen this relationship and take it to broader horizons. In conclusion, I renew my thanks and appreciation for the warm welcome and generous hospitality in your noble brotherly country, Algeria, expressing my aspiration for our country's relations to continue their distinguished path in a way that serves the interests of our two brotherly peoples and strengthens the unity and solidarity of our African and Arab nations. Thank you.
Mr. Hosh expressed Somalia's gratitude to Algeria for its support of its unity and stability, noting advanced bilateral cooperation and Algeria's international backing, and welcomed the opening of the Algerian embassy in Mogadishu, while calling for stronger African coordination on security and counter-terrorism. The President of the Republic of Angola, João Lourenço, has concluded his three-day state visit to Algeria, which reflected the shared will of both countries to strengthen their historical relations of fraternity, solidarity and mutual support. During the visit, the Angolan president held bilateral talks with the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, before co-chairing the signing ceremony of agreements and memorandums of understanding covering various sectors. The Angolan president hailed the religious and cultural significance of Jamal Jazair, emphasizing the values of dialogue and coexistence.
Eu agradeço às autoridades.
I thank the Algerian authorities for the warm welcome they extend to me and my delegation. I also thank them for the opportunity to visit this magnificent mosque. We believe in the pursuit of fraternity among peoples and religions, which undoubtedly contributes to world peace. It is the responsibility of all of us, political and religious leaders, to engage in this process.
Para a paz universal.
That was the president of Angola, João Lourenço, after visiting Jamal, Jazeera, where he received information about its various religious, cultural and scientific spaces. The Minister of Public Works and Basic Infrastructure, Abdelkader Jalawi, has begun a two-day working visit to Chad at the head of a high-level Algerian delegation to discuss ways of implementing joint projects in the field of infrastructure, notably the Trans-Saharan Highway project. The visit, carried out under the instructions of President Abdelmajid Tebboune and following recent Algerian-Chadian talks, aims to advance practical bilateral cooperation, with Mr. Jalawi arriving in N'Djamena alongside a delegation of Algerian experts and officials welcomed by Chadian authorities. Mr. Jalawi stressed the strategic importance of the Trans-Saharan Highway project, noting that the visit aims to advance the implementation of two key road sections in Chad.
قطاع الأشغال العمومية والمنشآت القاعدية.
The public works and basic infrastructure sector occupy an important place in our bilateral cooperation, as it constitutes the major level for achieving economic integration between our two countries. From this standpoint, we attach special importance to the Trans-Saharan Highway project, which represents a strategic axis linking our two economies and the economy of the region in a sustainable manner. The main objective of our visit revolves around the actual implementation of the two sections of the road on Chadian territory, considering them as two essential links in this continental artery.
في هذا الشريان القاري.
For his part, the Chadian Minister of Infrastructure, Emir Idris Korda, has hailed the strategic vision of the President of the Republic, Abdelmajid Tebboune, aimed at strengthening African cooperation in integration and implementing major infrastructure projects, particularly the Trans-Saharan Highway project. Mr. Korda highlighted the importance of the Trans-Saharan Highway project as a key driver of economic development and a means of strengthening ties between the countries of the African continent. Now, the Minister of State in charge of Foreign Affairs, National Community, Abroad and African Affairs, Ahmed Attaf, has received the Secretary of State at the Ministry of Foreign and European Affairs of the Slovak Republic, Marek Estok. More details with Masoud Sharfi.
The meeting allowed for a review of the results of the third session of the Algerian-Slovak political consultations. The two sides discussed the positive momentum in bilateral relations under the roadmap agreed during Mr. Attaf's visit to Slovakia in December last year, aimed at strengthening the legal and institutional framework and building a solid economic partnership in key sectors. Earlier, the Secretary-General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Mr. Lounes Megraman, co-chaired with Mr. Estok the third session of the Algerian-Slovak political consultations. Both sides welcomed the progress since the last session, reviewed cooperation in key sectors, including energy, education, research, industry, tourism and investment, and exchanged views on regional and international issues, including the Middle East, Western Sahara and the Sahel. In the same regard, the Minister of Industry, Yahya Bashir, held talks with Mr. Estok to examine ways and means of strengthening bilateral cooperation in the industrial sector and developing economic partnership between the two countries. The meeting took place in the presence of the Ambassador of Slovak Republic to Algeria, Marek Murin, as well as the delegation accompanying the Slovak Secretary of State. The talks explored ways to strengthen Algeria-Slovakia industrial cooperation through partnerships, investment and exchange of expertise to create new opportunities and achieve joint industrial development.
You're still listening to Radio Algeria International. As you followed in our top stories, Chinese President Xi Jinping held talks with visiting U.S. President Donald Trump at the Great Hall of the People in Beijing. The Chinese president said that transformation not seen in a century is accelerating across the globe and the international situation is fluid and turbulent. He also said that U.S.-China relations are the world's most important as Trump hailed the talks. Trump said it was a great honor to pay a state visit to China, calling Xi a great leader and China a great country. Trump emphasized his willingness to work with Xi to strengthen cooperation and communication properly handled differences make bilateral relations better than ever before and embrace a fantastic future. Trump encouraged representatives of the U.S. business community to expand cooperation with China. The two presidents exchanged views on major international and regional issues such as the Middle East situation, the Ukraine crisis, and the Korean Peninsula. They also agreed to support each other in hosting a successful APEC Economic Leaders Meeting and G20 Summit this year. A new declaration aimed at strengthening cooperation on peace, sustainable development and human rights was signed on Wednesday in Addis Ababa between the United Nations and the African Union during the 10th annual high-level dialogue between the two organizations. So Shafi has more on the declaration in this report.
The document was signed by the UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres and the chairperson of the African Union Commission, Mohamed Ali Yusuf. At a press conference, the UN Secretary-General hailed a partnership stronger than ever between the two organizations, emphasizing the need to strengthen cooperation in the face of shared challenges. On the issue of combating climate change, Guterres stated that Africa could become a major player in the renewable energy sector, estimating that by 2040, the continent could generate up to 10 times more electricity than it needs, entirely from clean sources, whilst providing power to the 600 million Africans still without access to electricity. Referring on this occasion to the situation in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, the UN chief called for the progress made in negotiations to be transformed into an immediate and permanent ceasefire, whilst supporting the mediation efforts led by the African Union under the auspices of Togo to achieve a lasting political solution. The annual high-level dialogue between the UN and the AU is a major strategic meeting that brings together the leaders of both organizations to strengthen their partnership on key issues in Africa.
Now to the Middle East. The Zionist occupation forces carried out another raid on the village of Saida al-Golan in the southern countryside of Quneitra in Syria and arrested a civilian. In northern Quneitra, Zionist artillery fire also targeted the outskirts of the village of Samdaniya and Gharbiya. Syria continues to call on the international community to assume its responsibilities, put an end to the practices of the occupation, and compel the Zionist entity to withdraw completely from the south of the country. The League of Arab States emphasized the need to end the historical injustice suffered by the Palestinian people and to continue international efforts aimed at ending the Zionist occupation of all Palestinian and Arab territories occupied since 1967 and at establishing an independent sovereign Palestinian state with East Jerusalem as its capital. Tomorrow, Friday, the Palestinian people will mark the 78th anniversary of the Nakba, renewing their attachment to the land and their determination to remain there despite the intensification of Zionist aggression and the ongoing policies of forced displacement against Palestinians. Next is a program depicting the main events that led to the Nakba or catastrophe.